Hey, thanks for stopping by. This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And it's Sunday morning. It was supposed to be miserable this morning here in Florida. It's 6:45 a.m. and the storm hasn't made it here. We're supposed to have high winds and torrential rain. It hasn't made it yet, and I'm thankful. So I'm out here in my workshop with my new Tecsun Pl-310ET, and it's scanning all of the international broadcast bands right now. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yep, I gotta move it up. And of course, I've got several lights on. I've got my monitor on. I've got my computer on. Matter of fact, I got a fan on. I better turn it off. Okay, I'll turn the fan off. I had to turn a fan on. It's so warm this morning. It's 75 degrees outside and about, 77 here in my workshop. So I just wasn't used to it. So it was kind of warm, so I turned the fan on. Anyway. So it's scanning now all of the international broadcast bands, searching for stations, but it's also going to find noise. And there might be a lot of noise in my workshop. So I don't know how this is going to work out. We're using the internal shortwave telescopic antenna, also for FM. And I finally got around to measuring it. It's only 22 inches, which is partially because this is a small radio. You can see how small this radio is. So they can't have a very long telescopic antenna attached to it. So after we do this scan, then I will be using, we go back out of zoom here. I've got two antennas hooked to my switch. One is the MFJ 31-foot vertical, and the other one is just my long wire antenna that is about 15 feet horizontal in the backyard. That's what that is. So we'll try those, see how they do on this mode. The automatic tuning storage mode, some people think it's a waste of time because you pick up so much noise, plus you miss weak stations. So I have to agree with you on that count, but if you're just looking for a quick scan, it's kind of a no-brainer. Just push the button and let's scan. Now, the Texans, it's finished. The Texans, okay, quit beeping. The Texans have two modes in ATS. They have, let me turn the volume down here for a second. They have the single international band scan. So that's a real quick scan. Whatever frequency you're in that's close to an international broadcast band, it will just scan that one band. So it's like, boom, it's done. The other mode, which is the mode I was using, is it scans all of the international broadcast bands, which, as you saw, takes 2 or 3 minutes. So that's done. And now we can see it should be in memory mode. We can see what it found and stored in memory. And I'm only using the whip antenna, or telescopic antenna. And I'll zoom in so you can see what frequencies we got. Okay, and we turn the volume up. The first one is at 5.810. Sounds familiar. That's fairly strong. Now the signal strength is shown up here, the first number, and that's in, what did I say, dBi or dBn, or something. That's some units. And it's about a 60, a 63. That could be, it's a Spanish station, could be someplace in Florida, or it could be South America, Cuba, Habana, Radio Habana, I don't know. That's the first one. Loud and clear. But they don't talk too well. I don't understand. I don't understand Spanish. Okay, let's go to the next one it found. Another Spanish station. In the early morning, down in that area of 5.5 to 7 megahertz, I get a lot of Spanish stations. Oops, I went the wrong way. No, I didn't. We found 2 stations. That's all I found. 2 stations, and both of them are Spanish, which means they're probably local. I say local, within a couple hundred miles. So, didn't do too good there. Didn't do too good. Again, well, I'm surprised it didn't find more noise stations. Not noise stations, more noise. But it didn't. Found 2 clear, strong stations. Okay, we're going to put the telescopic antenna down just for convenience. We don't have to put it down. Just going to get it out of the way. Then we're going to go jam this external antenna. This is the beauty of this particular model, is it does have an external antenna jack. Okay, we kind of, whoops, get it back in. The cable wants to turn it, so that's all right. And now we'll do another full international broadcast scan. Right now I'm going to switch it to my oh, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the label I have on the antenna itself. I'll zoom out so you can see it. Okay, the label says 31 meter dipole antenna. Oops. Well, guess what? Because of the storm coming, I took that antenna down because it was only up temporarily. If you go back to where I reviewed that antenna, you'll see that it was just a temporary setup. So there is nothing, there's nothing but the coax cable which runs outside. That's the only thing that's connected. So forget that one. We're going to go with the 31-foot MFJ vertical. That's all we got. So I'm not going to be able to do another test I was going to do, which is comparing vertical to horizontal antennas with this radio. I'm not going to be able to do that test today. So here we go. This could take a while. I'm going to push and hold down the shortwave down arrow button, and now it's scanning all of the international broadcast bands. There goes, there's the, was at 90 meter, 3.3 megahertz, 75 meter. Still only found 1 station. Could be a bust this morning. With these storms coming in, it could be blocking all my signals. Found 3, which we're still down in the below 6 megahertz, which could be some local Spanish stations I picked up. Okay, it's picked up 7 signals, whether they're noise or real stations, we'll see in a minute. There's 8. It's up to 7.4 megahertz. So, you know, obviously we're going to pick up more stations with an outside external antenna, and this one's 30 feet in the air. It's a vertical antenna. Got 8 stations. They're up to 9.5 megahertz. And that's kind of like what I like about using this ATS function. You just have it start scanning and you just go do something else, and then you can come back and find out what it found. We're up to 11 megahertz, and we've got 9 stations. I mean, when conditions are good on other radios, such as my PL660, when I've done this function, it's filled up all the memories. I think it, for this function, it has 100 memories. It's filled them all up. But conditions aren't too good. The solar flux index is probably in the low 70s. Heavy overcast. So it's one of the worst days I could pick. We're up to 9. captures. Could be noise, could be stations. We're up to 15 megahertz. This goes up to, when it's doing these scans, it goes up to 21 megahertz, which I don't remember what international meter band that is. I can't remember anything nowadays. Okay, we're up to this 16 meter band. So we're getting close to the end. And we're up to still a count of only 9. Pretty poor. Now we're the 15 meter band. And we're going to be finishing up here. This might be a short show. We don't find many stations. Still only have 9 hits. And now we're up above 21 megahertz, which usually you don't find much up there. The conditions are right. Okay, there it's done. That's a long beep at the end. Found 9, I believe, 9 stations. Turn the volume up. .95. Really weak. It's English, at least one of the stations I hear. Look at it change. Watch the number here. This is an indication of signal strength. See, it's coming in there once in a while. That's how bad conditions are. Let's go up, see what else we found. Whoa. There's a Spanish station. Maybe even 2. Maybe even 2 stations. There's the other Spanish station. There's another one. And Preacher Man's in there. So, well, what we would do, hush, don't talk when I'm talking. What we would do is, it's not totally accurate. In other words, it doesn't capture the exact frequency that the station is on. So what you'd have to do, you have to get out of the memory mode, and then you can manually adjust it to kind of tune in, because it sounds like we have 2 stations coming in. Okay, we're not going to do that right now. We're just going to see what we found. We definitely found the Preacher Man. And look at the number here. It's in the 78. Okay, so the Preacher Man is strong. He's always strong. You can always depend on the Preacher Man. Another Spanish station. Another Spanish station. Now we jumped up to 7.3. And that's another religious station. It's not the Preacher Man himself. And it's running a strength of about 71, 65, 79. Ah, now there's one that I like to hear. Loud and clear, no noise, WWV at 10 megahertz. Now what surprised me, and we can go back, if I can remember, and try 5 megahertz. It didn't find 5 megahertz. Now, when I think about it, 5 megahertz I don't believe is in an international broadcast band. Maybe that's why I didn't find it. That's the one drawback of this mode, is it only scans the international hush. It only scans the international broadcast bands. So it doesn't scan the entire shortwave spectrum. So that's one drawback of this ATS function. I wish it would scan the entire spectrum, and then it probably would have picked up 5 megahertz. We'll go back and see how 5 megahertz is doing in a few minutes. Because typically the WWV on 5 megahertz this time of the morning here in Florida is a strong signal, stronger than 10 megahertz. 10 megahertz, that's easy for me to say, 10 megahertz is loud and clear. Now I'm getting a little bit of interference, and I could change the bandwidth to try to eliminate that frequency that's close by. Now, that's not unusual to have another frequency coming in around 10 megahertz. They do that, I assume, because 10 megahertz is so popular, they want to get a station right up against it so that people will hear their station also by tuning off a little bit or having the bandwidth too wide. I think the bandwidth right now is set to max, which is 6 kilohertz. Let me see if I can find the bandwidth button. I always have problems finding the right button. I think it's a red one. No? Where'd the bandwidth button go? I am such a ditz. Oh, right here. The print, that's one thing. The printing on this small radio is pretty small. So I struggle a little bit trying to read it. So here it is right here. Let me turn the volume back up and we'll see what the bandwidth is. No, we turn the volume down. That's very cool. Okay. It's 3, 2. Station is still there. That radio station is still there. 1, 6. So you can hear that radio station that's close by. I don't know what that station is, but it's now he's swapping it out. I can barely hear that other station in there, so it's close by. So we could experiment with that and try to find out what that station is. You know, tune above and below 10 megahertz. So let's go on though. See what else we found. That was the last one? Yeah, that was the last one it found. I said 9 because when it was scanning, it had a 9 up here, meaning it was looking for the 9th one. It never found the 9th one, so it only found 8. So now let's do a little manual tuning. Okay, so let's go switch to frequency tuning instead of memory tuning. Okay, now we can kind of tune around, and I'll turn the volume up, and I'll try to shut up. Nope, I can't find it. I can't get far enough away from WWV to get that station in by itself. Let me go back and change the bandwidth again to minimum. Okay, I got 1 kilohertz.
Acetone, 12 hours, 2 minutes. Coordinated universal time.
Okay, I can't find another station. Now, what it may be is that that station is really not in this range. Its harmonic is in this range, so I'm picking up a harmonic of, or a multiple of its real frequency. It could be a really strong local Spanish station that's bleeding into 10 megahertz. Now let's try 5 megahertz. There's 5 megahertz. Hard to tell the difference because they're broadcasting the same thing. Let's look at the S meter. 68, 72, thereabouts. Let's go back to 10. 69, 70, about the same. Till this morning, WWV 5 megahertz and 10 megahertz, about the same strength. Like I say, normally it's at 7 o'clock in the morning. Normally 7 o'clock it starts transitioning from being strongest on 5 to being strongest on 10. Let's try 15. I don't think I can get it. Let me try it. No. No, you go, seems this morning if you go above, say 12 megahertz, the band just drops off. So anyway, that's the testing using the ATS function. I'll do some more testing with I'll get a list of frequencies of stations that should be on the air, and we'll punch them in and see what we get. Again, right now, today, band conditions are really poor here in Florida. If you enjoyed the show, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.